Let's get the show started and talking about Nigeria's very naughty electricity sector. So on Monday, President Buhari superintended the signing of a new deal, what we call a roadmap for Nigeria's electricity sector between our own BP, that's the Bureau of Public Enterprises, and Siemens, the German power utility company's giant. So the new handshake between Nigeria and Germany, according to Mr. President, is expected to provide a major leapfrogging in our search for sustainable electricity. But this is a project that will have a bit of a role in our path moving forward. But let's try to unpack what's in the new deal and what it should be our expectations as Nigerians under the new arrangement. Let's talk to Wonodi, who was the founding Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of MBET, that's Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company. He's also the founding partner of a new company, of an energy company called ZKJ Energy Partners. Thank you so much, Rumunaka. It's good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you. Thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it. So, give us, in summary, what you made of this new deal with Siemens.
Thank you very much. I think that it's a very welcome development. As you know, one of the issues we had identified as a big problem for the sector is capacity alignment, which is that we have a lot of generation that we are not able to transmit and distribute to homes and businesses. So this deal seems to acknowledge that, and so we see the first phase is trying to take the current distribution generation from 5,000 megawatts to 7,000 megawatts in 2021, and then after 2 years to 2023, it will ramp it up to 11,000 megawatts, and beyond that to 2025, it goes up to 25,000 megawatts. So if you know the architecture of the present electricity industry, you would assume that the first 4 years, the investments will be made in transmission and distribution because we already have generation capacity to that effect. And then beyond 2021, we expect additional 10,000 megawatts because we have about 12, 13 installed right now. So the question is, how are we going to finance this deal? And the devil is in the details, which we have not yet received.
Okay, so I'm looking at President Buhari's speech, and this is about the fourth to the last paragraph, a very short speech he made at that presentation on Monday, and he says, the intention is to ensure that the cooperation is structured under this government-to-government framework. Mr. President says no middlemen will be involved so that we can achieve value for money for Nigerians. We also insist that all products be manufactured to high-quality German and European standards and competitively priced. So you just said that we have no idea yet how this will be funded, but he says this is a government-to-government framework. Based on what you know about the industry, Siemens is not taking any equity or shareholding in the entire thing, whether with TCN or with MBET or whatever. So this is a government-to-government, and as you said, no word about how this will be funded. Do you have any idea how this will be funded or should be funded?
Well, we do not have any idea, but we can only speculate based on a precedent transaction that happened in Egypt. So I think this is coming out of a precedent transaction that Egypt and Germany had gone into in 2015, and the whole essence of that is adding additional 16,000 megawatts to the Egyptian grid, which consisted of about 14.4 gigawatts of gas-fired plants and then some 2 gigawatts of renewables. And the way that was funded was the Siemens Financial Services provided some of the debt, and then you have Euler Hermes, the German Exim Bank, providing some money, and of course, I think also Denmark EKF was a part of that transaction. So that was primarily a government-to-government type of deal. But the Egyptian power sector is basically controlled by the government from generation through to distribution. In Nigeria's case, it's slightly different. But it was very heartwarming to see the BP play a role, which means that it's actually looking at the government shareholder instead of, say, the Ministry of Power or Ministry of Finance, as that might be. So it's taking cognizance of Nigeria's privatized industry, or at least corporatized entities, as it were. But at the end of the day, like I said before, we want to see what the details are, because if you're going to make a lot of investments, and truly the first 4 years, the investments will have to be made in distribution system, transmission and distribution to achieve the 7,000 and subsequently the 11,000. Therefore, we would like to know how that happens. And I think that when the details come, there should be some space for private sector to play a role in this.
Okay. Mr. President also used the Monday occasion to talk about, to remind everyone when he says that the previous efforts at the power sector reforms, he says, like the ill-prepared NIPP as well as other reforms. Do you think those arrangements we had under previous administrations were ill-prepared? Were they faulty?
Well, I mean, the result speaks for everyone. There could have been better preparation for the NIPP and better integration of the delivery schedule, so that plants, when completed, will come with gas pipelines and required transmission systems, and not just transmission systems, distribution substations and what have you. So, yes, I think Nigeria, from what we see, rushed into delivering that project. Better time could have been spent in preparing and making sure that across the value chains, things were tied together. But we hope that we do not lose from that experience, because we've also seen in the recent past, where government had put on some initiatives, and at the end of the day, they did not get the best out of them. So government to government is very welcome, but I think that there must be a consideration for the market to play a role in this, because the market, with its invisible hand, would actually direct things better.
And says in his speech on Monday, 4 days ago, it looks like this putting pen to paper between BP and Siemens, there had been an industry-wide consultation. What have you been hearing over the last 4 days from industry practitioners, perhaps some government officials? You were once a government official in charge of MBET. What are they thinking? What are their prospects? What is their outlook on this new deal?
Well, to be quite honest with you, we've tried to get a little more out of the deal, or what is in it. We've not quite got much, but what we're made to understand is that there'll be wide consultations, and that when the full details come, that it would include both the discos and the practitioners and all stakeholders in coming to the final details. But one thing that is very important is that I think that the project identification and project planning should come under the remit of NERC, and that is important because NERC actually does more consultations than TCN will do, or BPE, and therefore that way it could actually get the input of most of the operators, especially distribution companies and generation companies.
So, Mr. President, providing a bit of detail still, sticking with Mr. President, speech talked about, and you talked about, the 7,000 megawatts of reliable power by 2021, which is just about 2 years from now, 11,000 megawatts by 2033 in phases 1 and 2, and then the final phase, the third and final phase, according to Mr. President, was to drive generation capacity and overall grid capacity to 25,000 megawatts. Do you have any idea how many years this will take us? 2023, the third and final phase, there was no year put into that. Do you think 25,000 megawatts will still be sustainable, even if we distribute all of these across Nigeria moving forward between now, 2023, 2025?
I think that the 25,000 is actually for 2025, which was why I said that within those 2 years, to the extent that we already have installed capacity of 13,000 megawatts today, that we'll be looking to add additional 10,000 or 12,000 in those 2 years. And just to go back, Egypt did it with Siemens. They did 16,000 megawatts within 2015 when they signed this deal, and 2018. So it is realizable, but the very important thing is that it has to be very well planned, and it has to be very well integrated, and it is very doable. We have a couple of projects that we know that are under development that could actually bring the additional 12,000. We have solar projects about 1,200. We have NMPC working with its partners for upward of 5,000 megawatts. We have Mambila at 3.5 gigawatts. We have Zungeru. So there are projects, and there are also a lot of other IPPs that are in the work. So that could be done, but the investment in transmission and distribution is what is very key. And those projects have not quite been identified, especially in distribution space.
So Mr. President says on Monday, trying to conclude his very brief statement, he says, quote, "This project that is between the federal government and Siemens will not be the solution to all our problems in the power sector," and his speechwriters put the all in all caps. So, do you agree with Mr. President that this deal is not the solution, or will not be the solution to all Nigeria's power sector problems? If yes, what else do we need to be fixing right now?
Well, so this is all about generation, transmission, distribution. You still have to deal with the commercial issues. You still have to deal with the tariff, how these things are paid. You have to deal with metering and a whole lot of other issues. But I guess that if you were writing this, you have to put a caveat for the presidency so that, at the end of the day, if it doesn't solve all the problems, you say, well, we never thought that this would solve all the problems. So that could be a little political pinch for them. But the truth of the matter is that this is just one side, the physical side of it. We still have to deal with the issues about the commercial, the legal, and then, of course, how this will be paid for, either by the market or by the government. So all those are still issues.
If I'm going to ask you a final question and to harvest a guess as to when do you think Nigeria will be able to have a sustainable power to the people, could you put a figure to it? As saying, if I roll up calendar, how much older will I be by then, for example? I'll tell you my real age, my age after the show. But let's give me a guess. How many years? 5, 10, 15, 20?
Well, I think that this is also one of the problems that we've had in the power sector, where people talk about this 24/7 power. I think we should focus on reliable, predictable power that people can actually plan their lives about. And that could come as soon as 1 year, but it doesn't mean that you have power 24 hours. It could just mean that you know when you're going to have power for 6 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours. I think that's what is more important, that people begin to know when they will have power, when the service will be available, and when they can use that. And that could come as soon as the distribution companies and the regulator determine what exactly will be the load shedding schedule for everyone. Predictable power, and brings reliability. You can rely on power for 6 hours. I don't want to start hazarding a guess on when you get 24/7 power, because, of course, there's the economy of it and whether it is sustainable, as in, can we pay for it all the time? And can everybody pay for 24/7 power? But what is important is that people just need to know when they would have power and rely on that.
We appreciate sharing your thoughts with us on this. This is still work in progress, as you put it, and as everyone on the street already knows. Thank you so much, Rumenaka Wonodi, who was a founding CEO at Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company, NBET. Thank you so much, and the founding partner of ZKJ Energy Partners. Thank you so much. Do have a great day.